Eric Thornton was caught during the To Catch a Predator sting in Fort Myers, Florida. He was 27 years old at the time and believed he was talking to a 14-year-old female. Over the course of this video, I'll take a look at the chat log between Eric and the perverted justice decoy and analyze the footage of the confrontation with Chris Hansen. Keep in mind, the information that is available to us is only a small window into this person's life. I will be using this window to speculate on what may be going on within the subconscious mechanics of how his mind works and what his life may have looked like. Let's jump straight in, shall we? The chat with Eric started on April 13th, which was a Thursday, at about 11:20 p.m, and it wrapped up a bit over a week later on April 21, the following Friday, at around 11:30 p.m. again. Eric is much younger than some of the other men that I've taken a look at, and this does come across in the log. He has a more youthful energy about the way he speaks. That being said though, it does not change the fact that he is just as much a predator, if not more, than some of the older guys. This is more just an observation as well of how he speaks and how the log flows. There's nothing really of importance to that. Eric gives her his name and straight away calls her hot from her profile picture. The decoy doesn't waste any time letting him know that she is a minor, but this fact is barely acknowledged by Eric. It's actually not acknowledged at all, in fact quite the opposite. He immediately begins to call her baby. The lack of acknowledgement shows that Eric is on the prowl for younger girls and has just found his target. He doesn't acknowledge her age because he is a hunter who is stalking his prey. And just like a hunter who must stay still in the bushes to give the impression that they are harmless, Eric must bring as little attention to the age problem as he can. He must minimize the chances of her getting spooked and running away. He has sent her a few pictures of himself already and proceeds to let the child know that he does have a webcam, just in case they need it. Then he follows this proposal up with, "Nothing perverted, of course." A common thing you'll see people do is state their intention in a way which appears as though it is not actually their intention. It's a form of deflective manipulation. If I wanted to steal your phone, I could say, "Hey there, be careful around this area. There's a lot of people around who steal phones." What this would then do is make the person who I wish to steal the phone from raise their guard towards others in the area, but lower their guard towards me, essentially killing two birds with one stone. No one else will get the phone, and I have a better chance of getting it. Although this is a pretty basic form of manipulation, it can be highly effective when used sparingly and subtly. People can build rapport with others over time, weeks and months of bonding and trust building, so that when this technique is used, it's almost undetectable. The way Eric has used it though is clunky and awkward, and is quite indicative of his overall mental state at this point in time. His avoidance of the age, and then this comment shows that he believes young girls are likely not wise enough to catch on to his slimy ways. The decoy informs him that her father won't let her have a webcam, another stark reminder of her age. And on the next page we have quite the bizarre comment which I have pondered for quite some time now. He starts by saying, "You never know who is watching you," in reference to it being a good thing that her father won't let her have a webcam. Once again, playing the angle of the trusted advisor and friend. Then he goes on to say, "But I trust your judgment and positivity for being a nice, cute sweetheart." But I trust your judgment and positivity for being a nice, cute sweetheart? There's a fair bit to unpack here. I can only assume that after advising her of the villains in the dark earlier, he is now complimenting her for talking to him, showing her that he appreciates her good judgment. Let me think about that some more. He trusts her judgment and positivity for being a nice, cute sweetheart? He's saying that he respects her for being able to recognize that he is a verified good guy, not one of the other dangerous, hungry sharks? Look, I'm not even going to dig into this comment anymore. The reality is this. He knows that she is young and maybe not had much experience with being manipulated, so he is working the angle of the older, wise guy who recognizes her for what she is. He likely thinks that if he compliments this young girl, it'll make her feel as though an older guy respects her mind, therefore she may give him her body. This man is most definitely a seasoned predator. After asking if she'd like to see him on cam, or if she'd like a few more pictures, he says this: "Any other Chiquitas with you?" Referring to female friends of the decoy as Chiquitas, it sounds like he is really working that cool guy image, displaying to the decoy that he has his own set of linguistic standards that he lives by. He operates outside of the social norm. I do find this interesting to take a closer look at, as language and dialogue fascinate me, so bear with me while I dig into this. Many countries who utilize English as their main language, or any language for that matter, they tend to put their own flair into it. This is what constitutes a cultural flavor of a language and sets them apart from someone else who may have originated from another region or country, yet use the same language. This is recognized as something that humans do, and I truly do love this about our world. There's just so many intricate ways that we can each paint with our words. With that being said, there is an established way to speak to one another. For example, a female is commonly referred to as a woman, a lady, or a girl. Referring to a woman with language outside of this, like Chiquita, would be classed as uncommon. Thornton, I imagine, would be quite aware of this. It's a little flavor to his lingo that he's picked up along the journey of his life, and he chooses to use this term over the more common ones. There is absolutely nothing wrong with doing this at all. It adds character to a person and can display a layer of depth or reveal a place of upbringing amongst many other things in a matter of seconds. But when using terminology that is uncommon to one's language, one will always have some level of awareness that it may not be fully understood by those outside their peers or circles of friends. So when meeting someone for the first time, someone like a child for example, a person may confuse the child with their lingo, or intrigue them. There's a chance that Thornton may have not toned his lingo down because he's completely unaware of the state of his language. Or he may have chosen to use that term because he is aware that it will project more of the character that he would like to display. I believe he is saying to her, "Look at me. I lead a vibrant and interesting life because I use language that is uncommon." It's quite grimy behavior, as a child will be more susceptible to finding someone intriguing when that person doesn't appear as a run-of-the-mill adult, a fact that Thornton is probably very aware of. There's a little bit more predator chatter on this page, and then the decoy soon calls it a night. Eric says, "I love ya, kisses, hugs galore." I really don't think I need to say anything about this. The next day the decoy reaches out to Eric, but he doesn't reply for 2 days. When he finally does reply, he apologizes for his absence, and barely any words of substance are exchanged before Eric brings up something that appears quite important to him. He wants to show the decoy something. Something personal. "I want to show you something personal." "Sure, what?" "Well, it is something underneath my pants." "Unless if you do not want to see it." "Ha, I don't care. I know you would die if someone found out you viewed it." "Okay, I will show it to you. It starts with P and ends with S." Damn Eric Thornton, I wonder what this mystery object could be. Eric proceeds to enlighten the decoy on what the object could be, exposing himself on camera. He says, "You like, baby?" The chat continues, and from what I can tell, his camera is still on, and his penis still out. They discuss meeting up for a little, but the decoy mentions that she needs to close his camera window as it's making her computer run slow. More to the point, it's probably burning through their eyes. Eric really wants to know what she thought of his penis. "What did you think of my penis anyways? You like or dislike, baby?" The decoy says, "It was cool." She really doesn't give him much to work with here by saying it was cool. It's really not a compliment at all, not the sort I imagine he was looking for anyway, but in his sex-addled state of mind, it's just enough of a string to keep him coming back for more the next night. The next night, conversation is sparked back up again around 10:50 p.m. The decoy makes a joke calling him Cam Man, which Eric seems to believe is an invitation to masturbate for her. He's completely lost in a fantasy world, which I think is brought on by porn addiction, something that I will look at a little later on in this video. As the conversation progresses, Eric transitions from being a weird, excitable creep who exposes himself to children online to a full-blown predator that is going to bring his fantasies into reality. They confirm to meet this coming Saturday, and Eric asks twice what they will be doing on the night. The first time goes unanswered by the decoy, but the second time is where Eric expresses his true sexual intent. "What would we do on Saturday night, baby?" "What you want to do?" "I want to make love to you." "Just kidding. That is of course a possibility." Here we have another poorly constructed sentence from Thornton that has left me rubbing my head a little. "I want to make love to you. Just kidding. That is of course a possibility." I can only assume he means, "Nah, I'm just kidding, unless you want to." The old, I don't want it unless you want it trick. The decoy responds with an incredibly subtle yet powerful line. She says, well, I never done it before, but only because no one wanted to. So she has stated that the only reason she hasn't slept with anyone yet is because no one has wanted her to. This would trigger Thornton immediately. He has stated her picture is hot, that her voice is hot, and that he wants to make love to her. These words are like blood to a mosquito. Coming up now, we have a rather disturbing exchange. We can make love all night long. I want to for you. That might be cool. I heard it hurts the first time. Yes, it does. You mean sex? Yeah. Or just making out? Yes, it does. I would love to have sex with you, hun. That doesn't sound fun. Yes, it does. Sex for most people is a big deal, especially if a person has never done it before. One should assume that a person's virginity and their first time would be an important moment in their life. Eric has no desire for this person to lose their virginity in a meaningful manner. She has just expressed concerns that it may hurt, and he verifies that it does. Yet instead of leaning into these concerns and trying to sympathize or comfort her, he doubles down on his horny state of mind, saying, I would love to have sex with you, hun. The decoy then says it does not sound like fun, and he bluntly states, yes, it does. What on earth is going on in this man's mind? Pretend for a moment the decoy is someone who is of legal age. Wouldn't any person with half a heart say, hey, if you want advice on what your first time will be like before making the decision, maybe go talk to some female friends who have done it before, or a family member you trust. A doctor, anyone for God's sake. Don't just dismiss that person's concerns and lean into your desires. That's sociopathic. It's an awful trait that humans can exhibit, a complete and utter lack of care for someone who has expressed concerns over something surrounding a situation in which they have no prior experience, and you have. This little set of statements alone is enough for me to throw Eric into the pile of the worst of the worst. All of the predators are pretty bad, but there is a section reserved for the worst, and Eric just earned his ticket in my mind. Down the page a little, there is a line that I wanted to take a look at, for no other purpose than I find it rather humorous. Eric says, I want to see my schlong. You want to see your schlong, do you, Eric? Please, be my guest. No one is stopping you. Go take a good look. He is completely obsessed with showing her his penis. A large portion of the upcoming chat reads like this. You want to see my penis? So you know what you're dealing with on Saturday night? I already saw it, but if you want, sure. You like it, baby? You want to show you it shoot white stuff, if that's okay? If you want. 1 sec, hun. You want to see me shoot white stuff, honey? So you know how much protection I will have to show you what will be in the condom? Hey, Lizzie, what would you do to my cock on Saturday if you have a chance? I don't know what to do with it. Well, for beginners, you can actually put your hand around it while kissing me. Okay? You weren't there, so I turned it off. Can we just talk? Hun, I am about ready to come. I don't really want to dive into this, but it is my job to man the lemonade stand, so here I go. Eric is clearly aroused and working himself towards a sexually elated state with each line. If we look over this moment and remove the initial gory details of it, there is an interesting underlying layer. We get a glimpse into the mind of someone who is attracted to minors. There's a primitive energy to the masculine mind when it becomes aroused, an energy that can reflect the greater constructs of how that particular man's brain can work without the regular restrictions that society tends to deem inappropriate. It's a look behind the scenes. Whether you want to look behind the scenes or not is another story, but here we are, so let's take a peek. As Eric steps up his intensity, notice his words. You want to see my penis so you know what you're dealing with? I want to show you it shoot white stuff. You want to see me shoot white stuff, honey? As you're well aware, every one of these statements is something that he has consciously directed at a child. These are things that I highly doubt one could say to someone of legal age. They would just make no sense. The idea of being with someone who has no idea what this experience is arouses him greatly. He refers to semen as white stuff. using a childlike way to explain what it is he is about to do. Every step of the way, there is not a single sign that he would want to be with an adult. I really don't know what's happened in Eric's life to make him this way. As you'll see later, he does seem to be like someone who may have trouble keeping up with social situations, or someone who could be ostracized and ridiculed for his blank stares and lost demeanor. I'm definitely not trying to get you to sympathize with his struggles in life. There's plenty of people who have had it harder than him and have never turned to preying upon minors. But what I do offer is a possible explanation to what Eric Thornton is. It appears that someone like Eric, who has a playful mind, a strong sex drive, and a poor grasp of social interactions, has likely found solace online in porn and chat rooms. He's also probably found that children give him the most time of day, as adults cannot relate to him, and he has likely built his attraction on minors, not so much in the fact that they are children, but how they make him feel. Eric ejaculates, and he really wanted the decoy to watch this display. You want to see it? Please, hun. Okay. Okay, cool, honey. Did you see it? Not really, too dark. Shoot. Well, it was a load of glory. I don't really understand why some men like for the women to watch their climax. Admittedly, I haven't done too much research into this specific topic, so I have very little understanding of it, and it seems pretty abstract to me. What does it serve? I mean, I could speculate for hours and get nowhere on this one. The main deduction I came to on this one is porn addiction. A man who becomes addicted to viewing sexual content can become disconnected from what a healthy sexual partnership looks like. All they can see is their own delusional idea of how sex makes them feel. They lose sight that sex is not pornography, nor should it be male-focused. And without having a meaningful connection with a woman, close female friends, or strong female role models in their life, a man can develop a very weak understanding of not only what a woman may desire, but what their role as a man should look like. For every man this would look different, as everyone's experience in life is unique to them, but it would be pretty difficult to convince me that someone's state of healthy masculinity is derived from sitting around watching porn all day. This seems to do nothing but teach a man that sex is surface layer, exploitative, and that women are objects to please. The overflow damage that this can cause for a man is devastating, as he lacks the ability to interact with the opposite sex in any sort of meaningful way. With that interpretation of how masculinity works, and what porn addiction can do to a man, this now brings me to Eric. Watching someone like Eric bumble his way through sexual conversation is like watching a monkey who has been given a smartphone. It has no understanding of what the item it holds is. It just knows that if you whack it against things, it lights up and vibrates. On a foundational level, someone like Eric would understand that his views of sex are horribly misguided. Therefore, he desperately wants the decoy to look at his cum and say she likes it, as hearing this will allow him to continue on his delusional path, rather than to take the more difficult route of looking inwards, observing the utter mess that is his existence, and starting the long, painful path to recovery. That's my whole take on the looking at my cum thing anyway. Oh, I did almost forget. He described his cum as a load of glory. I can't say I've ever heard it be described like that before. So, maybe I did read into all of that too much, and Eric is just completely fine. Maybe he just really loves his bodily fluids, describing it as a load of glory, and he wants as many people to bask in the greatness of it as he can. Such a generous predator. After Eric's glorious comment, he says, "Stupid me, talking all perverted. Hey, any movies coming out on Saturday you want to see?" God, this chat log is loaded. So he recognizes the perverted nature of his words and actions and says that to the decoy. Yet before they have a chance to respond, he then tries to deflect her attention to something innocent, asking her about movies. Once again, this is just deflective manipulation at its finest. I do humor myself with this thought though, as earlier in the chat log he told the decoy that the cam would be used for nothing perverted. Then he states, "Stupid me, talking all perverted," after shooting a load of glory. He's like a stupid, dizzy cartoon character that doesn't really know how to control himself. The rest of the chat log is pretty uneventful. There's a bunch of predator chatter where time and place to meet are discussed, and alcohol to bring is also discussed. There's a pretty funny moment where Eric inadvertently confesses that he thinks Mickey Mouse is sexy. They've both taken an online quiz to see what Disney characters they are, and Eric gets Goofy while the decoy gets Mickey. I was Mickey Mouse. Really sweet. That is so cute. Of course, Mickey is cute. But you're even more adorable and cute and sweet and even sexier than him. It must have been the ears that got him, hey? So after he gets that all out of his system, we're at the end of the log. And he just had to end it with one last pathetic whimper. I love you, baby. Cool. Yes, totally. I love you, hon. Do you love me? Well, I don't know you enough to love you, but I like you and you're really cool. Thanks, baby. Good night, sleep tight, and do not let the bedbugs bite. Night, night. He expresses his love for her in an attempt to squeeze some affection, but the decoy was really not having a bar of it. And that's it for the chat log, which now brings us to the Sting house.
You pulled in the driveway, Del.
Is there anything I need to say? Chris, anything that you want me to say?
I liked your picture.
You like my picture?
You like his picture.
Okay.
I'm not gonna see it for real.
Right at the start here, we have Chris Hansen flexing some of his predator knowledge. Chris has done a number of these investigations at this point, and has read more chat logs than one should ever have to. He knows exactly what the decoy should say to further attract Thornton into the house, and make the whole situation look not like a setup. Am I gonna see it for real? Referring to the multiple times Thornton wanted to show his penis throughout the log.
Right in the archway. Making the turn. Approaching the back door. On the top step, call out.
I made some chocolate chip cookies and I left them on the table. Just take a seat. I'll be right there.
Okay.
I really liked your picture. I can't wait to see you.
I know.
What kind of alcohol did you bring?
I brought Absolute Citron, I brought Mandarin Orange, I brought a shot of Jägermeister, I got Bush.
Wow. Did you bring condoms?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So far, the only real thing to note about Thornton through these initial moments of being in the house is how casual and laid back he is acting. Some predators are very nervous about being inside the Sting house, and others are not, and Eric is in the latter category. It appears that he has no inner struggle about his role in this situation. He's sitting back, eating cookies, rattling off a giant list of alcohol that he's brought, and upfront states that he does have condoms with him. This would show that likely he sees no issue with what he wants to do. A lot of the other predators are aware that their desires are sinister, whereas Thornton looks blissfully ignorant to his predatory actions.
Well, with all that, it sounds like you've got a pretty big night planned, huh?
Yep.
So what was your plan here tonight?
My plan? Just to hang out.
To hang out. Hang out with whom?
Hang out with Liz.
How old is Liz?
14, I think.
14, you think. And how old are you?
27.
What do you do for a living?
I'm actually looking for a job right now. I got laid off from my last job.
And what is your degree in?
My degree is in hospitality management.
Hospitality management. Have you ever had a job in that field? Do you see that there's something wrong with someone your age coming here to meet somebody who's 14?
Yes, sir.
And what's wrong with that?
It's against the law.
There's not much to break down in regards to this interview as of yet. Thornton is not giving us much to work with. He has a blank stare, a blank tone, and he seems like a very slow deer caught in the headlights. Chris has just asked him what's wrong with him coming to see a 14-year-old girl, and his response is, it's against the law. But the way he responds, it's more like he's asking a question with his answer.
And what's wrong with that?
It's against the law.
He's really not sure why he's in trouble at all. Someone with a little more empathy or intelligence would say, it's wrong of me to come here because she is a child who is vulnerable by nature, and a sexual experience, especially one of this kind, could scar her forever. Thornton does not have this sort of reasoning.
Against the law. And you knew that before you came over here.
Not really.
But you know it now.
Hang on. You didn't know it was against the law before coming over, but you know it now? Yet didn't you just answer a second ago saying that it was against the law without being prompted about legalities? Maybe that's why his answer previously was posed as a question.
And what's wrong with that?
It's against the law.
And you knew that before you came over here.
Not really.
Maybe this guy really didn't know it was against the law. If that is the case, which I absolutely don't believe, how does one get to the age of 27 and not attain that sort of knowledge? Eric is a mess in all senses of the word.
How long did it take you to get here?
From Jupiter to here, it took me, let's see, I left at 3, probably about almost 4 hours.
4 hours. That's a lot to go through just to meet a 14-year-old girl.
It is.
You got to be pretty dedicated. And so you guys were what, going to have a few drinks, hang out,
watch a movie. Not necessarily have sex, but if it came down to that, I mean, I know it's illegal to have sex with a minor.
I want to make love to you, you say.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take it back a step. Thornton has explained that it took him nearly 4 hours to drive here.
It took me, let's see, I left at 3, probably about almost 4 hours.
4 hours.
Chris says, "You must be pretty dedicated," to which Thornton agrees.
That's a lot to go through just to meet a 14-year-old girl.
It is.
You got to be pretty dedicated.
The way he agrees gives me the sense that he thinks this is a positive thing. The word dedicated has some pretty positive connotations usually, and Thornton responds as though Chris has just recognized one of his better qualities. Well gosh, if he sees how dedicated I am to this, he knows that I'm like this with other, less creepy things. Thornton begins to explain what they were going to do.
Hang out, watch a movie.
Then completely contradicts himself again by saying,
Not necessarily have sex, but if it came down to that, I mean, I know it's illegal to have sex with a minor.
I want to make love to you, you say.
And by this point, Chris just cuts the crap and begins with the log, showing Thornton that there's nowhere to hide on this one.
Not necessarily have sex, but if it came down to that, I mean, I know it's illegal to have sex with a minor.
I want to make love to you, you say.
Mm-hmm.
She says, well, I never done it before, but only because no one wanted to. You say, we can make love all night long. I want to show you something personal. She says, sure, what? Well, it's something underneath my pants. I know you would die if someone found out you viewed it. It starts with a P and ends in an S.
He's been listening to Chris read his own words back to him, and when the torching is finally done, he looks up as to say, okay, what now? If you watch this clip with Chris's commentary, Hansen states that this is one of the guys that you could feel sorry for had it not been for the clear sexual intent displayed in the log. He appears lost and confused, and I really can't help but to agree with Chris here. We're looking at a guy who doesn't have a grip on how this world works. This isn't completely uncommon either. Many people out there are pushed into the world which is designed to operate in a specific way, and if one's mind doesn't flow with that direction of society, it is very easy to find oneself lost and alone. The people this happens to, most of them do not become predators, but a lot of them can get swept up in some pretty dark walks of life. Others also excel as artists or any other form of expression that they find themselves gravitating towards. People like this tend to really sink into the rabbit hole of whatever it is that they are doing. And Thornton is caught in a rut, a dark cycle of never-ending confusion, lust, and ridicule.
You know, that's illegal to send something like that to somebody who you think is underage. Are you addicted?
I'm not extremely addicted. I am addicted to a certain point.
Do you have a compulsion?
What was that? I don't know what that is, actually.
Do you have a problem controlling yourself when it comes to meeting young people online?
Yes. I have a problem with that, no.
And what have you done to get treatment or help with that problem?
I've went to counseling many times. Stuff like that.
So based upon the fact that you're here to meet a 14-year-old, that counseling isn't working out too well, is it?
I don't know.
You got to go deal with it on your own now.
Yeah, because I am an adult.
What's it going to take?
It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of rethinking.
As I mentioned before in the log, Thornton is caught in a cycle of addiction. He knows what he needs and he knows that there is something wrong with him. He even admits to this fact, saying that he does have a compulsion towards meeting young women online. If it's something that I've learnt about addiction, is that addicts will always play down whatever it is that is their vice. If he is at a point where he can say and recognize that he may have an addiction, then it's probably pretty bad.
I mean, you know how this chat looks. I mean, you were raring and ready to go here. But I got to tell you something. I'm Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC, and we are doing a story on adults trying to meet children on the internet. What you may not know is that everything from the time you drove down this street until now has been videotaped. If there's anything else you'd like to say to us, we'd like to hear it. If not, you're obviously free to walk right out the door you came in.
All right. Thank you.
Unfortunately for Eric, instead of continuing to pursue counseling or take the steps that he is aware he needs to take, self-reflection, rethinking, and changing behavioral patterns, he chose to give in to his criminal desire, and the result is this. He was made as an example by Hansen for all to see, a warning for any other predators, a lesson for adults and children alike, a source of entertainment and scrutiny for entertainers, and yet another insanely heavy weight to add on to the already heavy pile of confusion that is his life.